idea, well, it stemmed from a question from someone who asked, what are you going to do for the rest of your life? And I said, well, I'd like to go around Australia, but I'd like to do it in a different way and for a purpose.
Jacob was promoting his wheelchair trek around Australia. He was almost ready for takeoff and he still needed some people to go with him. A friend of mine immediately wanted to go and said, give me a ride, I'm going to Jacob's house for an interview, I want to go. Jacob thought that I was there for an interview as well, and he started asking me all these questions. I didn't resist, I just answered these questions, and at the end he said, well, do you want to go? And I said yes, and it wasn't something I thought about, it just came from nowhere. I just said yes, and he said, well, can you be ready in 3 weeks? And I said yes.
Seemed really funny of no one though.
Yeah. How does it think going at the office?
He actually contacted his mother and myself, and as I recall, and informed us that he was preparing for this trek around Australia, and I think he sent some photos down, or sent a magazine down which showed him out on the roads near Byron Bay there doing some trials. And of course, seeing the photo and seeing this great line of traffic, and thought to ourselves, well, he's really taking something on.
We were driving down, actually, the first day we left Mullumbimby. We did a short trek to Byron Bay, and then we drove down to Sydney, which was where we were going to commence the trek from. And Jacob was the passenger, I was driving, and we were just talking, and I knew that I really liked the guy. We got on fantastically, and it was very strong from that first night.
To my knowledge, there wasn't a great deal of preparation. I think it was about $100 was their actual financial backing. They really had very little to fall back on, but they were determined.
Trying to change the attitude that having a disability is a burden to the community. I believe that being classified as disabled doesn't mean that you haven't got ability.
My outlook has changed to people with disabilities a lot since I first began. When I first met Jacob, I was quite hesitant. I didn't know how to approach him. He looked different. I sort of bit my fingernails and thought, what am I supposed to say? The trek is trying to change people's attitudes in that way, that people with disabilities still have so many abilities and can get out and achieve things in their lives.
She looked straight in the air.
The Nissan support vehicle was being rust-proofed in the interior, so they borrowed a vehicle to carry the wheelchair, and it had a small tray. Unfortunately, someone had not locked the tray properly, They were driving along and a motorist was frantically trying to contact them, so they pulled up and they were informed that they'd lost their load. That certainly cast a pall of gloom on everybody, you know. But before very long they had an actual chair to replace the original one.
Jacob's outlook towards life is very positive. It's infectious, actually. It rubs off on people. I see the people that he talks to get motivated and inspired by what he's doing, and inspires them to get up and do what they want to achieve in their own lives, myself included. Sure, I had teenage dreams of and things like that of who I was going to be with, and it wasn't someone who had cerebral palsy, but it doesn't take me by surprise really, because Jacob still has those qualities. Jacob still is the person that I love, and I often even don't see his disability either.
We don't have wheelchair access, I'm afraid. How about down there? Yeah, it's easier coming down the cement. And then you back up there.
This is Mikey. Hello. Mikey. You think Mikey's a funny name?
We used to joke on the trek that Jacob was the guru. We used to say, you know, go and ask the guru, go and see the guru. And it became a joke in the end, but really, I think, to most of us, he was a guru in one way or another.
This is so fantastic!
Okay, so another 25k up the trek.
Is that what we're doing?
Apparently.
That do you? It's another, 3 hours?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, we were all sort of pretty buoyed along by the whole thing and believed that we were part of a fairly special experience. And we were reminded, you know, from time to time about why we were doing it and what it was all for, because at times, you know, when you're a little tired of the same old routines, you'd just want to go and grab the car and do some sightseeing somewhere, and that didn't always go down very well and probably wasn't always appropriate. Most people would say, why go across the Nullarbor at that pace? You know, most people want to do it as quickly as possible and close their eyes. But, I don't know, there was something in it, going so slowly and really having time to digest it all and think about life, you know, beyond getting up and switching on the television. And so I really enjoyed it. We had really good CB contact with all the truckies, and every so often we'd be saying, you know, this is the trek, we're at such and such a location, you know, any trucks, you know, in front, behind, can you let people know that we're on the road? And we had quite good conversations.
Merry Christmas to you. All right, well done.
Yeah, they were really good, most of them. We didn't have any trouble. They just went straight past and carried on, tooted the horn. Jacob and Julia would often say, you're not coming on this thing as a job, because it's not a job. It's not work and it's not rest. It's not like, divided up into work, rest and play. It's a lifestyle. That's what it is. Either you're sort of part of it or you're not, because it goes 24 hours a day. You don't clock off.
I think the main problem was at that particular time, as I recall, they had gone into Western Australia and there had been a change of government, and the situation in Western Australia was that a charity from another state, from interstate, had to have an established office.
Hello there, and thanks for joining us. With me in the studio today is Jacob Baldwin, who is on a wheelchair trek around Australia.
We found out that we weren't able to register because of some legal problems, legalities in their law, and we couldn't collect money. And to that point, we survived on donations from the public.
During our time in Perth, while we were trying to get a licence to fundraise, a lot of the crew thought that this was the end of the ability trek. We couldn't fundraise in Western Australia, therefore that was the end. It had an incredibly tiring, draining effect because of all the uncertainty of whether we would ever be able to get the licence to fundraise.
Ability trek. Trek. T-R-E-K. One big step.
No, one giant leap.
No, it'll be a shove.
One giant shove for mankind.
One last push for the license. Yeah, that's a good one.
So, what's Julia's thoughts on her fiance about to commit suicide?
Good on him. Let's be positive. Yeah, good on him.
I am being positive.
Good on you, Jake.
My favourite gun. I want my lunch when I get to the ground.
They had a charity already there that they felt their objectives were similar. We did try to get around this incident by saying, well, this is, ours is a historic event. Nobody has travelled around Australia in an electric wheelchair. However, they dug their toes in and said, no, we will not allow you to fundraise in Western Australia.
The main problem was that it took so long getting the required arrangement with the particular government in Western Australia. It meant that they were virtually stranded in Perth.
Minister didn't want to do anything rash. So, although she was sympathetic, she was understanding, she felt she couldn't do anything.
They weren't getting the assistance from the government. It wasn't a quick decision, and so they could see that they had to make a decision.
It was an incredibly low and time of great uncertainty whether we would actually make it or whether the trek would just terminate at that point.
held meetings, we contacted sponsors, and we did all sorts of think tanks and all sorts of ways to try and overcome the burdens.
John left the trek while Jacob and I were in Sydney because he felt that it would not continue. It was a long period of waiting time. It was pretty unrealistic to think that somebody could wait for 9 months for something to start again. So John liked Perth, and so he left at that point.
Of course, at that stage, the major problem was finding a suitable bus. As it turned out, once they got the bus, they got 2 excellent team members, Jacob Greck and his wife,
work out the engine system,
who came to Sydney, and Jacob virtually rebuilt this old school bus.
It seems to me that if we had vehicle builders and carpenters actually doing the work, that, I don't know, it'd lose some of that sort of that magic about going beyond our abilities.
Very historic moment in time.
I can remember the last day in Sydney. We were packing up all our stuff in the MMI office, which we'd been using during that period, and it was incredible. There was so much stuff everywhere, there was so much paperwork involved, and we were packing it all up and we were going.
Goodbye!
We left Sydney in January 1994, which was 2 years after we first set out. It was a gorgeous sunny day and we were going no matter what, and it was just an incredible sense of achievement to get on the road again.
Perth was simply this. All I felt from the very beginning was there was lots and lots and lots to do, and that there was some reason, and I don't think it was really made clear to everybody, that the trek had to leave on April the 29th. It was just disorganised. You know, if you're going to leave as a team, you've got to be properly prepared as a team.
Welcome, Jacob. Welcome to Menorcio. Real long drop off just here.
Here to introduce you to Mr. Baldwin, who's going to talk to you about his trek around Australia in his wheelchair. So I'll pass you over to Mr. Baldwin.
Good morning, Kim.
Call him now. Okay, Carly, you were first. If you'd like to ask your question, Carly.
How do I travel Australia around Australia in a wheelchair? I travel on the road, on Highway 1. And that's in the traffic. I also have a electrical car behind me, so it warms the other cars that are speeding past me that are on the head. slow down. And some slow down, but others don't.
Don't you go wasting my videotape, young Dan, fiddling about.
This is the bus and the thing that's actually kept me pretty busy over the past couple of months.
I did actually. I did see the stones that Sarah got. They're over here, aren't they?
Starting off, we've just got the front and the driver's seat and whatnot. Got a Flying Doctor radio, a mobile phone, just cabinets for keeping video equipment and whatnot. The shelves are pretty good. We keep all our clothes up in the shelves. As you come through, you'll see we've got TV and video, filing cabinet for all information. It's one of the wheelchairs. A hoist to lift Jacob in, and all your general things like your cooker and your fridge and Julia and the sink and whatnot.
Well, we're travelling along, probably at about top speed at the moment of 40 kilometres an hour in third gear and more, and it's just not really going too well.
Engine blood.
Just say exactly what had happened to the bus, you know, what had happened.
The engine had died.
And?
I don't know all the technical detail, but it wasn't going to go anywhere.
No, what does this mean? This is today. Today is the day that we've decided we're going to have to leave the track.
Could you cut this?
Well, these were out of our engine and had been rebuilt, and they got a bit bent. Someone didn't quite do up the bits that they were supposed to, and then the bottom bit fell off and this bit got jammed and it twisted everything, destroyed it all.
So please continue. The bus has died. The bus died?
This is where the old engine used to live that went off like a hand grenade. Yeah, it's a 345 International V8. Yeah, ours blew up. Where would we have to go to get one of them? Victoria. Okay.
Is this a disaster?
I'm not a hiccup, but it could be seen as a disaster, but it will cease to be a disaster the moment we get it fixed.
Yep. Thank you very much. Okay, bye.
We just had some great news. It seems that Frank in Dampier has decided to pay for the engine. So we've got an engine, free. We've got an engine, and it's not coming out of the charity funds.
Let's go, we got the grog. Yeah. Can you hear the song of the whistle as my memory rolls on its way? They'll cut up my train in the morning, but I retire today. I feel the throb of the anchor, old swing beat of its snout. Today is the last of my journeys in the Arnold country around.
I just drove along the road coming north from Perth, and there was a woman standing beside the road, and I pulled up beside her and I said, "Hey, Malaxin, you want to lift north, you know?" And that was actually how I met them. And their bus had blown up and the motor had blown up, and I asked them if they could get another motor, and they said, "Yeah, well, we got one, but it's paying for it." So I rang them up later and I said, "Well, I'll send you the money to pay for the motor as long as you can fit it in." So I actually went up there while they're fitting it in anyway to see how they got on with it, you know.
I'll leave you, lady, lady, oh lady.
This thing was just about around the clock to start off, and then until we found that everything else had shit itself, like your water pump, your fuel pump, your carby. What else did we... Oh, and your starter motor. After that we just like gave it in and Done it as quick as we could, and 3.5 weeks later, finally mobile. Oh, love you too, Peter!
The bus is finally finished and it'll be running correctly for the first time ever.
Well, I'm glad to see it drive out that gate. I'm just happy to see it. I'll be throwing a can of beer at you as soon as I see you go out that gate. That's all there is to it.
Let's hear it. Here we go, we're just about to start this bus.
Put your cigarette out.
No.
On 3, on 2, on 1, start it.
So Sarah, I'd like you to tell me please what has brought us to today. Today has been a big day here. It would seem that we've run out of time on our visa. We're going to have to leave. Diane is leaving and Daniel has decided to leave. How do you feel about that?
Good lord!
Too bad if you don't.
What we have here is bedtime torture treatment by Glenn Gates to Jacob Baldwin. Torture treatment.
Evening, David.
Hi, Glenn. How you going?
9th of September 94.
Yes, that's correct.
It's been an epic day today.
Actually, it started out pretty tough. I was a bit worried. It's going to be a hot day. And, my frail little body wasn't up to it.
And you coped really well?
Yeah, I think I made it through. But thanks to my 2000 AD comment. And a few lollies. Collies played by you.
They hit the spot.
Oh, they certainly did. Yep.
How was Jacob today? How did he stand up to the road? How did you stand up to him on the road?
He's a seasoned professional. We all know that. So a little fledgling like me against the Grand Master of travelling on the road, I felt humbled in his presence. And in fact, the later on in the day we got, the more interesting our conversations got. And after a while, I actually liked it. And by the end of the day, I wanted to do more. I'm just sorry that tomorrow hasn't come. Okay, last night being the 4th of November, I was casually pushing Mr. B in his wheelchair this way. He's just barely towels all over him and didn't notice this step here. As much as I'm laughing now, it was a sad effect because as I went over the curve, the dump truck effect came into vogue, and unfortunately Mr. B did this big cartwheel onto the ground. I mean, we do feel sorry for the poor man because as you can see over here, Mr. B isn't in a shaking mood. It's no longer Shakin' Stevens, it's Mr. B, the man who's been wrapped up, the mummy from the deep south. So we have a bit of a problem now.
The problem is that I'm going to have to steer my wheelchair with one sprained thumb.
Have a try, Mr. B, see how you go.
Yeah.
Fingers on, action stations, kick start.
Halfway and still going.
Hey, it's Rolf Harris.
Yeah, that's what I said. Rolf Harris, hit your heart out. I hope that this will bring some inspiration, some motivation, some idea that if you have a class 5 disability, no matter how severe it is, there's a lot of things that can be done. With a condition like mine, you do get a sense of being closed in, being trapped, whereas on the road you're free.
My first impression, one of amazement. I expect to get quite a learning experience from it. I've never met anybody with so much determination, and that's the main reason I'm here, because of his determination, his positive thinking. You know, he sees nothing as being negative, and I find that quite a phenomena.
Come on, Jake, keep it going up that hill, boy. Come on, road train.
I was sitting on the side of the highway, not knowing anything, just hitchhiking, and all of a sudden up comes John, and he asks me, "Hey, how would you like to come along on a wheelchair trek around Australia? It'd be no worries." What? At first I was a little apprehensive and uncomfortable, being he's disabled, and I mean, society ingrains this, you know, ingrains being uncomfortable around disabled people, but once I got to know him, I realized, you know, he's completely normal mentally, and I felt like I could really, I don't know, get in touch with him, because he's got a good sense of humor, and he's really, really smart. And I'm just absolutely impressed, and I feel that I'm gaining a personal positive attitude for myself, and I think I can just grow from that.
We started to have some mechanical problems with the bus brakes in Mount Isa. It was an unfortunate time. There was nobody in Mount Isa at that stage who could fix the brakes or even check them. The crew weren't getting on with each other. There was a time delay getting stuck in Mount Isa, and people had made a commitment only for 3 months.
To help you complete your project. And also, you know, try and be a friend with you, but the last few weeks it's been like hell. I found it like, you know, we're sort of, it's been sort of 2 sections that, you know, everyone's sort of broken up. And
John, we know how you
excuse me, I'm talking to Jacob. I'm talking to Jacob. Thank you, alright?
You'd said how you felt.
I'm talking to Jacob, please. If you just had come up and said, how do you feel? Are we meant to be part of a crew or what?
Also, a lot of the crew didn't get on. Nobody trusted each other anymore. There was a lot of dishonesty happening, a lot of different agendas.
That means that you are quite prepared to go back to 3 ways and bloody well track.
John was missing the ocean. He didn't like being inland. He found it very difficult being away from the ocean and really wanted to go to Cairns.
Bullshit, Julia. I could drive all the way to Cairns without even using the brakes, Julia. I bet you couldn't even get the roadie without using the brakes.
John, that's a really personal thing. I'm not even...
So John felt very strongly that the bus should be driven to Cairns to get the back brakes checked.
But I'm telling you how, with the difference, why I'm prepared to drive the thing for repairs. I'm doing it for Jacob, actually.
I'm responsible for this whole project.
You've said that 3 or 4 times, Jacob, and I heard you loud and clear.
No matter what Julia says, no matter what you say, if it sounds unsafe, it's not going.
Okay, well then what's going to happen? That's what I want to know.
All I want is an answer, Jake. Either you want me to do it or you don't.
I want to do it.
Okay, it's as easy as that with me. I'm prepared to take the risk, but 40 k's an hour.
In the end, John left the track and didn't drive the bus back to Mount Isa as originally agreed. So I flew to Cairns to get the bus. The work that they actually did on the bus was on the steering. They said there had been a problem there, so that was what was fixed, but the brakes had been fine all along.
Santa, I've been a good boy this year.
Yes, have you been a good boy?
You better not cry, you better not shout, I'm telling you.
I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know how it's going to be, which you can't find out until you get there. So I don't really have any expectations about that. I just expect that it's going to be really interesting and really different and really hard a lot of the time, but mostly a really good experience.
My role has basically been keep all of the machinery rolling. I like Matilda. She's a pleasure to drive, and when she came to me, she was just running nicely.
The first couple of weeks is that, or the first week at least, is that gradual process of learning what it's all about and what you've taken on and that kind of stuff. So it's more a lot of questions, and so it's slow because you're questioning a lot and they're questioning you.
What are you going to have for tea?
We're having a mushroom plastery thing. It's good iron intake.
Being a member of the team and doing your duties as well as a cameraman, it's not an easy job, I have to tell you, because we're supposed to share the caring of Jacob as well as doing our individual duties as well. It's something you can't compare it to any other kind of job when you get as a cameraman, you know.
Poor Farah doesn't know who to put the camera on and go wee wee wee.
Jake, why are you heading into the dry sand? Come on.
There was a fair bit of nervousness when I first started caring for Jake. Just in the picking him up and moving him around, I was thinking, well, what's going to happen if I drop him, or what's going to happen if he has a spasm and falls. And I guess it wasn't till he actually did fall one day, but I got over that.
What happened?
We all have needs, and needs have got to be met. And I think if you can give somebody a hand to do something that they mightn't be able to necessarily do for themselves, I think that's a good thing for somebody to do.
What I would like to achieve from the endeavour is do two things. One, heal my own heart, and the second to achieve a little more peace and a little more balance than I had the day before I started the trek.
We're starting today at 7 o'clock, which is an ungodly hour.
I think attitudes are slowly changing. And I think that's one of the really positive aspects of the trek is the amount of people that we've gone to, whether it be truck drivers or school kids or service clubs. The message is getting out there, and I think it'll happen. I think the change will come.
Hey, mate. Welcome home. How are you?
No, we have to say hello. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you too.
It's Farah. I'm Olivia.
Olivia, how do you do? Kevin?
Gee, you're brave, you're brave, you're brave, huh?
And
Farah, that's Farah.
how do you do, Farah? Pleased to meet you.
Oh, I feel magnificent. Haven't seen him for such a long time. Well, I'm happy to see all of you because I heard that such a wonderful crew. You've been all the time with Jacob?
Yeah.
You my little baby.
So Jacob, you're home.
I think that Jacob and Julie have been very fortunate to come across in the process of the trek I know they've had some people that obviously didn't sort of fit in, but by and large most of the crew members were really solid citizens.
Oh, what's happening? Getting out! It's the last day of the trek! Oh boy. What you call it?
And?
I'm not excited now. I might be later, but I ain't now.
We have only got 4 Ks to go.
What's in your brain now, Jacob?
To get over the Harrow Beach.
Hello, pleased to meet you. George Shimura. How you going? Alright, let's rock!
Good luck. That's it.
Okay, John, no worries, thanks.
Down the mountainside, where the big train a-rolling, time is on the if you are following the moon of this painful train. Can you hear the song of the whistle as my memory rolls on its way? They'll cut up my train in the morning, but I retire today.
If every other crew member left, the trek would still go on, but if Julia left, I think it wouldn't necessarily. I mean, Jacob would make it still go on, but not in the same kind of vein, perhaps, as well as it has, because of Julia.
Jacob Baldwin, the man at the front of the parade, been travelling around Australia in his electric wheelchair at 8 kilometres an hour. It's taken him 4.5 years.
Good here, man. How do you feel, Pete?
Stoked. Absolutely stoked. In tears.
I see you on the road, I'm going to lock you up.
Okay, no problem.
Right, okay,
Not
not
mucking around. Yep, sure. The officer in charge just mentioned that if I was to step back on the road again during the process, I'd be locked up, my film would be confiscated and used in evidence against me, and that he thought I was taking the whole thing as a bit of a joke. I tried to explain that it's actually a job. At that point he decided to read the riot act, so I shut up. Thanks.
I don't want to talk.
I guess I believed in the abilities of people with classified disabilities. I mean, people with conditions who are seen as disabled, but disability is not the end of life. It's really a matter of switching your attitude over to what you can do rather than what you can't do.
So, if the Flower Girls would like to come, I'll give a big round of applause for Jacob and Julia as they come to get married.